This podcast is made possible by supporters like you. Mahalo. And by Atlas Insurance Agency, Hawaii's largest professional agency, helping Hawaii navigate insurance solutions since 1929. More at atlasinsurance.com.
Aloha, my kako. Welcome to a new episode of What School You Went. Start every conversation with that question. I'm Ron Mizutani, and today we're talking about an effort to create a new emoji that accurately represents the iconic Shaka hand gesture in the digital world. I want to welcome documentary filmmaker Steve Su to PBS Hawaii. Steve is one of three people who are right now leading this charge. Steve, before we get any further, I got to ask you, like I ask all of our guests, what school you went?
Aloha, Ron. So, I went to about every school on the planet, I think, and they all kicked me out. But for real, I went to school in Oakland, California for high school. So if you ask me what school you went, they're always saying what high school.
Correct.
Right? When I first landed here, people would say that, and they were like completely perplexed that I didn't go to school here. But I have gone to school. I did grad. I went to college at UCLA and then to graduate school at UC Berkeley.
So your high school in Oakland, what was the name of it?
Skyline High School.
Skyline High School is very popular school.
It's kind of known, a lot of athletes come out of there.
Athletes.
Tom Hanks came out of there. I knew it mostly for getting beat up. It was a highly integrated high school. They would bust the kids up that were, economically challenged. They'd bust them up from the flats, and then the area was Skyline is on the top of the ridge. So a lot of Howleys live up there. So then you've got basically 40% black, 40% white, 10% Hispanic and Latino, 10% Asian. And honestly, I think probably the Asians warred on me more than anybody because Asians always pick on other Asians for some reason. And then everybody else wants to pick on them.
Wow. Okay, so the Skyline, I forgot the name of their nickname. Do you remember your...
Titans. The Skyline Titans. Yeah.
Yeah, you remember your alma mater? Sing for me, please.
Hey,
you sound a lot like this other guy I know, Elmer. No, but welcome home. When did you move to Hawaii then?
I've lived here full time for 15 years, half time for 5 years before that. When I was dating my wife, who's here, she said, if it's me, it's going to be here. And so I had to deal with her. I used to travel a lot for business, and I would have to be here 2 weeks of every month. If I wasn't, she'd say, don't come back. And she was serious.
Of course.
So after 5 years, I'm like, okay, it's time to put up or shut up. So I decided that I will quit everything. I basically retired early in my career. And I said, if I could stay in Hawaii for a year solid, then I'll propose. And Ron, the year went by like in a nanosecond. It's like, boom, it's over. And I'm like, wow, the jig is up. Better do it.
The clock is ticking.
Yeah. So I did it, and I've never looked back. And so now, 2 itches later, 14 years, right? The cycle is 7 years. You're supposed to get the itch, matrimonial itch. I'm completely not itchy. I love it here. I love my wife. It's just, this is paradise to me. There's no question about it.
I'll be honest with you, Steve. When I walked in, I saw you scratching your head. So I didn't know if you were thinking or maybe you had something of an issue going on up there. But hey, welcome to PBS Hawaii. So cool to have you here.
Thanks for covering our story.
Hey, what you guys are doing is awesome. And I use that emoji all the time. Let's start there.
Yeah.
Because right now that's being decided upon. And congratulations to you, Ryan, and Ying. Lu, she's an amazing
internet artist. I don't know if you remember, but years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, she did a graphic called Fail Well, which literally took the entire technology industry by storm. It was a movement in its own right, and she has filed many emoji applications. So we were very excited to welcome her to the team. She came to East West conference that Blue Startups does, I guess like last month, and that's how I got hooked up with her. And she goes, "Oh, I can help with that. I know all the people at Unicode." I'm like, "Yeah, let's get this done." So she's been extremely helpful.
So you've got it covered from all the different angles. You got the artist. You got, of course, Ryan being the tech journalist that he is, and you.
It was Ryan's idea
to
file it. Yeah, I wrote it, but it was his idea. He's like super smart dude. Yeah,
super smart. Way out of our
league. Yeah,
yeah, but no, Ryan's
he's like Mr. Universe, and we're Uranus, right?
I beg your pardon. I'm a Martian. I'm from Mars, so we'll go with that.
You went with Elon. or Jeff.
That's funny. We are PBS, but anyway.
That's right. Keep it PG.
It's all
PG
good.
at PBS.
It's all good. It's all good. It's keeping it real. So the Unicode, they very obviously they must get bombarded with applications and suggestions. Mm-hmm. What is the process like? Where are you right now? And I'd imagine people are saying, "Yeah, I'm not trying to call you." Yeah. That's the dilemma. That's the challenge right there.
Yeah, so we're so bombarded with applications that they actually shut down applications last year. I had written the application last year, was ready to file it on April 4th, 2023, and literally they just last minute they said we're not accepting any applications this year.
Wow.
So we had to wait a whole nother year. And doing an application is very much like filing a patent. You have to have very strong rationale. There are many restrictions and requirements, areas that you can't apply for. So you have to weed through that. And basically what you do is you go and get other people's applications that would be similar to your area, and you rewrite them because it shows you the pattern. They actually recommend that you do that because they don't want to waste their time with something that's not well-founded. Mm-hmm. So the kind of the genesis of this was, as I'm doing the Shaka documentary, which is like 5 years of research and shooting and post-production, and you guys know the routine. It's like it's difficult to make a doc, right?
Right.
But I kind of come to realize that the Shaka is something that is actually not very understood. It's well known across the world.
Globally, yeah.
But people don't know the lineage of it. They don't know the genesis. They don't know the history or even the meanings and uses of it. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of why I wanted to bring this to light. And with respect to the emoji, I realized that the current emoji is wrong under two counts. It's number one, it's call me, right? It's not Shaka. People think it's Shaka, but call me is one of those things that's like you pretty much you're 80 or 90 years old if you say call me nowadays, right? And at the same time, the emoji is a horizontal hand or even a downward pointing hand. And what this implies is that you have a flying elbow, which is completely not a Shaka, which is hang loose, is like a elbow tucked in. And in fact, if you go to North Shore, they will tell you that you never shake it. You set it once. Your elbow's in as if you're a fisherman with 100 pounds of fish in a throw net over your shoulder. So you can't fly your elbow. You flex your bicep and you just like be legit 100%. You own it, right? And so I was like, oh yeah, this emoji is not correct to indigenous people's understanding. It's an affront to our indigenous understanding of the Shaka here, the historical underpinnings of it and the meanings of it. So then I realized that if you have a reader in your car or you're vision impaired, this symbol is not ADA. It's not American Disabilities approved because it would say, Ron is asking you to call you, Steve. Mm. It's not saying Ron's flying a Shaka at you. And so I literally, at first, I was like, why is my car telling me that somebody wants me to call them? Like, who the heck tells me to call them, right? And normally it's a text that says, can I call you? Are you open? So that's the etiquette now. And frankly, I think the current generation that's literally hitting the market now for jobs, they have no clue what that telephone receiver thing is or even what a phone book is.
Or, even what a dial-up or all that stuff, yeah.
So my premise was that if they don't want to issue a new symbol, a new emoji dedicated to Shaka, they should at least rename the call me to Shaka so that it would read it's a Shaka, because probably 99% of the usage of it, maybe more than that, is Shaka.
But when you make your submission, though, you folks included a alternate, right? I mean,
yeah.
What did she do to help maybe expedite?
Yeah. So the original application that I wrote, I was really just proposing to rotate the existing hand 45 degrees.
I see.
So the elbow was in. So because the elbow, the forearm is implied in the orientation of the hand, and I know that Unicode likes libraries that are consistent. So if you imagine like you got peace sign, you've got the devil sign and the longhorn sign, all those kind of hand signs are all consistent art. Mm-hmm. So they don't want a bunch of random stuff, generally speaking. So the original application was for just that rotation, but it actually has a very different visual appeal to it. You really look at it and that really feels more like a Shaka. It feels friendlier. It points more forward, and it has that kind of forward-leaning happiness and aloha to it. So when Yi Ying came along, the first thing she did was she gave me this really cool Shaka art that she had created custom for me, and she framed it. She gave one to Ryan and I was like, this is really cool. And she said, well, when you do an emoji application, what's good to do is alternative options for them, because if they decide that they want something more differentiated from Call Me, then it could be a different style of art. So she gave us a separate style of art. And mind you, that Unicode is actually only one library. It doesn't necessarily get used. So if you look at Google, Apple, Microsoft, they all have their versions of a Shaka. And most of them, actually, the Shaka is pointing down, your elbow's really high, which is really an affront. So the majority of them are pointing down, and that's really where we don't want to be.
Interesting. So where are we in the? I say we, like I'm part
You're
of it.
in.
But
You're in.
We are.
Yeah,
we are. Where are we in the process?
So the
when will the decision?
Application's in, and Unicode's really tight-lipped about it,
Okay.
and they basically say that we will have a decision by November of this year.
It's got to be a slam dunk.
I would hope, but maybe we just need to go and campaign.
I mean, gosh,
send Unicode
everybody,
a text.
It is a global gesture. I mean, you can see it on, and whether they're doing the hang loose or they're throwing a real Shaka.
Yeah,
I see it in Major League Baseball. I see it.
Yeah,
in gymnastics. I mean, you just name it.
It's
everywhere.
It's a gesture of all extreme sports, and in fact, I think that's why the Shaka will persist. Peace sign can be pretty kitschy. It's all sugar and spice. It doesn't have that kind of depth to it. And in fact, in our film, I interview Isaiah Walker, who's surf historian and commentator. And Isaiah, he says that, it's not just aloha. There are dimensions to the Shaka that are warrior spirit. And this warrior spirit piece is all about fear not and go for it. This is ADI Cow would go, right? And it's at the risk of your own life, being a hero. It's catching the big wave and just doing something super huge and epic. And so this is, to me, why you look at surfing is really the genesis of all extreme sports. So skateboarding comes out of that. Snowboarding comes out of that. And then even like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which has a very interesting lineage. The Gracie family were all surfers. And in fact, Renzo Gracie, who was kind of credited in 1996 for adding the Shaka to BJJ, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, he had broken his hand in a bout. And when he tried to do the traditional thumbs up, it came out as a Shaka. And then he just decided to own it. So, that sport, they definitely pay homage to Hawaii and the Shaka. And then, Ronald Hino, the soccer player, guy that skid on his knees and double Shakas, that's Brazilian. And in fact, I've been working with Alfio Lagardo, who is the founder of Hang Loose in Brazil. So 1982, he creates Hang Loose in Brazil, huge surf contest. That's how that got even to Hawaii. So when people think back to the 80s, when everybody wore those Hang Loose shirts, the genesis of that was Brazil.
Isn't that interesting? I did not know. I thought it was Lipia Spinda. Back in the 70s, 80s, Mayor Frank Fosse, that was his go-to.
Yeah.
The slogan was a Shaka sign, and
Yeah.
people knew that was Fosse.
I did an interview with Joyce Fosse, his widow, the first lady, and his son, Charles. And when you see the film, you're going to just die. They are so endearing. They just rib each other. And it's just a really very real moment. It's a slice of life of Hawaii movie. And you really get the vibe of how people here are so full of love and aloha, and they're jokey.
Congratulations. What a great project. Long overdue, and I know you've worked very hard on it. So you're making debuts very soon across the country.
Yeah, our world premiere is May 2nd in Los Angeles. We were selected for the VC Fest there, and I can tell you there's nothing better for a film to premiere in LA, because you go to film festivals to get connected with distributors. We already have half a dozen distributors that have contacted me, and one of them is my number one choice, which I was like, wow, you guys are contacting me? This is a good sign. And they've been counseling us.
That's PBS Hawaii. I know that.
Yeah, right.
I appreciate that. But other than that.
Chuck's been all over me. I got to tell you, Chuck has been on it from day one. He's been calling me for a year now.
Okay, yeah.
So we're very fortunate to have a lot of interest. We're world premiering in LA. 2 days later, I'm up in Anchorage doing some screenings.
Sweet.
We get back here. We do want to do a Hawaii premiere at some point. Ideally, it's at HIF in, I think, October would be the next slot. So everybody go out and ask HIF.
We'll be there.
Please
We'll
show
be
this
there,
movie.
and hopefully PBS Hawaii can have a role in that as well, because
100%.
we it is a national gesture. It's a national, and by then maybe we'll have a decision by Unicode. But that does. I mean, you folks are talking about a multi-pronged approach here. Everything is serendipity to me. It's all simultaneous, right? You got the long-waited film coming out. You have this effort with an emoji. And down at the square called the Square Building, we've got activity too. People and lawmakers recognize this opportunity to really pay homage to a gesture that means so much to the islands. And very much alive. The governor is going to hopefully sign this thing.
I hope so. Yeah. I would be surprised if
what's
he
happening?
didn't.
No, there's a whole bunch of things going on there.
Yeah. So So I wrote a bill. I had this idea that we should preserve the Shaka for the state of Hawaii, because there are states out there that kind of squat on Hawaii brands. For example, what is the state that holds surfing as their state sport?
Well, it should be us.
It should be. Our sport is canoeing,
Right.
that's a good one, right?
Yes,
Hokulea, everybody, had to get here on a canoe. Maybe there's more people that paddle than surf. So I get that. California
I know.
calls
Shame on
surfing
them.
their state sport. Yeah, and when you think about it, it's probably like less than a percentage of people, because you have to be in Southern California on the beach. It's like Northern Cal.
It's tough to surf in Sacramento.
Bakersfield. Yeah, I mean, who
Chico.
surfs in Chico, right? Yeah. So, who surfs in Redding or Tahoe? So,
Correct.
so I think that ultimately they used it as their state sport because it was a branding thing for them.
Sure.
They actually derive economic value out of it. No question, right? Disney uses it at their theme parks. So in my mind, well, if they would squat on surfing, why wouldn't they squat on the Shaka? Because that's related to surfing. It's actually emblematic of surfing. So in my mind, we need to do this for the state of Hawaii. And by the way, we have many businesses that earn their livelihood off of the Shaka. Yeah, I challenge legislators when I do testimony to go into any ABC store and not see a Shaka. They're everywhere, right? So how many jobs are being created out of the Shaka? How much product is being made? How many families are supported through this simple symbol? So to me, it's like, keep it, because it is emblematic of Hawaii. It's emblematic of aloha. It's not just surfing, right? And it costs us nothing to do this.
Correct.
So if we're successful, we will be the first state with an official state gesture. How great is that, right?
That's awesome, because there's all kinds of gestures out there, and you want to make sure that you're not.
New York should have been the first with a gesture.
Well,
right?
there's another gesture. New
Maybe.
York.
Well, think of this: like Texas.
Yeah.
The
Longhorns.
The Longhorns, right?
Yeah.
So everything is bigger in Texas. This is what Texans do. Well, wouldn't the Shaka be bigger as a Longhorn symbol?
Absolutely.
So why wouldn't they want to squat on this? Like, that should be Texas.
They will.
right?
They would never.
There are actually 2 schools in Texas that use the Shaka as their symbol.
Is that right?
Yeah, UTEP is one of them. And
The
then there's
miners.
another one that they have there's one that's called Roadrunner. And so they do this and they say, oh, it's like a chicken.
I'm so sorry. When you said road, I thought of another word that ends. I was just thinking possums.
Yeah.
You get the picture.
Yeah.
So not only do we pay homage and we own it, if you will, but our license plates. I mean, there's so many opportunities for us to.
Yeah. So the license plate thing is the most exciting thing I think I have in the kit right now. 2 years ago, I started trying to get this license plate thing done. I had to work through the DMV, and it was very difficult because you have to go to every county in the state and get the sheriff's office to agree to a specific license plate variant. And the reason is that if they're going to chase bad guys and they can't read the plate, then not good, right? So 2-year process working through every county, the city, DMV, and they finally approved it. So it's going into production now. In fact, we're supposed to get the decals that are literally the Shaka symbol that go on the rainbow plate. So basically what they're going to do is they take one character off. So rather than 6 characters, there are 5 characters. They move all the characters to the far right, which makes room for a 3-inch by 3-inch decal. And we have this outline Shaka that I designed. And my premise behind the outline Shaka is a very simple symbol, but it also is one that is ambiguous as to whether there's fingers or not, because the most credible origin story, there's missing fingers in it. So, if you look at any Shaka sticker, generally you see 3 fingers that are tucked in, but that's actually not the real story. So I think we're kind of the only symbol out there for Shaka that doesn't show the 3 fingers. And so I'm pretty stoked about this because the news story was broke last week on Thursday. So it's been, I don't know, like 5 days now. In the first 3 days alone, over 5,000 people signed up on our waiting list.
I'd imagine this may be the most, right now we have Kilauea, right? We have the Polynesian Voyaging Society.
Right.
With Hokulea.
Yeah.
This thing is going to be as big, if not bigger, because
everybody
loves that.
They love it, and so the rationale for me behind it is if I can get Shakas all over the roadways, we accomplish many things. Number one, we can reduce the temperature of road rage, right? It's like the string around your finger. If I'm going to cut somebody off, at least I'm going to think about it, and I'm going to Shaka back, oh, sorry.
Totally.
Oh, sorry, right? Or perhaps maybe I just am really nice all the time, and we're known for courteous driving here. We stop before a driveway just in case somebody going to come out.
Yeah. That's a podcast in itself, though.
Yeah.
We let everybody go. Go.
You first. It's like those 2 chipmunks from our cartoon childhood. I don't know, chipping somebody or
Chip and Dale.
Chip and Dale. Yeah, you go first. No, you, and nobody goes, right? But that's how we are here. That's how you get along on an island. That's what paradise is. And imagine if you were a visitor to here and you saw all these Shakas on the roadways. And by the way, on the back of the bus, right? We cover that story in the film. It's everybody loves that story because they're like, who puts a electronic shock on the back of the bus? Thank you for letting me in the lane traffic. Yeah. I think it's a wonderful thing, and I think it really bolsters tourism. Yeah, it's part of what Hawaii is. It's part of what aloha is.
When I need to get one, so you'll be able to still have your license characters, right? Your 6 characters, or you
5 characters. They're random. They're random.
Okay.
No personal plates.
No personal plate.
Yeah,
interesting.
Okay. I think they call them vanity plates, and I kind of like that because vanity is something that is counter to the idea of we're all equal. Mm-hmm. Vanity is I'm better. I got something that others don't have. I kind of like the idea like we're all ham and jam, one family, straight across. If you're hungry, come in and eat. It's calabash, right? And so if it's not special in a way, it's more giving versus me. And in fact, it's really interesting. I have found that people ask me, should you shake a Shaka or not? On the North Shore, nobody shakes it. They actually get very angry if you shake it. They think it's an affront. And if you come to town, then you've got Lipia Spin, the Frank Fosse, shaking it on the news, the Keochuntu News Shaka. And I interviewed Paul Udell for that one. And he's super good interview. Very entertaining man. But what happens is if you're shaking a Shaka in all those contexts, whether you're selling a used car like Lipia Spinda did, or you're campaigning for mayor, you're waving sign, or you're on the news and you're like, look at me at the end of the news, that shakingness is look at me. It's about me.
Right.
But if I'm throwing you a set Shaka, I'm giving you the energy of aloha.
Gotcha.
It's the exact opposite. It's a giving thing versus a taking thing. So I completely get that.
No, I you know what? Thanks for saying that because I remember Andy Bumatai, and I'm sure you've interviewed Andy for this piece as well.
You know what? I tried to.
Oh, really?
Get him. Yeah, can you get him? I want him.
He's like on speed dial.
Shoot.
Except, sometimes he doesn't pick up, but he's a busy guy. But I remember back when we were younger, he had a little stick, and part of it was all the different Shakas.
Yeah.
Right? That we have the swivel.
Yeah.
Right? I'm doing podcast land can't see it right now.
The blow up.
The blow, the slide.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? And so you have all kinds of ways.
Baby, mega, et cetera, et cetera.
There's all kinds of different techniques, if you will.
Yeah.
But you're right. If you're doing this now, you're trying to get attention to you.
Yeah.
Never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
But for myself, here's a real story. Talk about gestures in another town. My oldest was living in Chicago at the time, and I was driving in the city. Very intense driving. It's almost like driving in New York, but not really. And some guy let me in. I was a little bit more aggressive than I usually would have been, but I still flashed the Shaka.
In New York?
No, this was in Chicago.
Oh, Chicago, okay.
And my son said, Dad, what are you doing? I said, I'm just thanking him, right?
Yeah.
He says, that may not be what you think it is here. They may think it's just you're flipping the bird. And I'm like, wow, this is really too bad that you don't understand.
Yeah.
You know, you got to put yourself when in Rome, right?
Yeah.
But in this case, I didn't even think twice. It just came natural that, you throw the shaka to say mahalo, thank you.
That's exactly what Brooke Lee said in her interview. So, she won Miss Universe and she just throws it on the stage, right? And she's like, I didn't think twice about it. It's just what you do when you're in Hawaii. You're sharing the aloha. And actually CBS shut her down. They said, you can't do that because it looks like a gang sign. So, yeah, people don't understand. But with the advent of a movie about this, that it's really a movie that is relevant to all people. And this is one of my charges, is that movies that are made in Hawaii by Hawaii people generally are made for Hawaii people. So it's like, I call it pico picking. We're all looking down, poking at that little belly button hole. But, film is a medium that you're investing so much money in it, and it's so much fit and finish that it should go out to the world. That's how it economically makes sense. And if we tell a story that transports you to an exotic location, like say Star Wars takes you to outer, none of us have been to outer space yet, hardly. And maybe soon with Elon, I don't know. But right now we don't. We go along for the ride to an exotic location we don't have any familiarity with. And that's a good thing if there's some familiarity in the plot, or, it's like, oh, that person really seems like my uncle or my auntie or my grandma, right? I don't call her Tutu, but that's Nana, right? And so I think our best use of this film is if people around the world understand how we create aloha. How do we create paradise? What are the ways, the pathways to create and maintain that? Then we can have paradise anywhere in the world. I'm a peace and love guy now, which I never thought I would be. It's like, wow, that's far out, because I've always been more an entrepreneur, design guy, all those things. But I think we're going to do a lot of good. And next time you go to Chicago and you fly that, it probably will be okay.
I hope so. But in the meantime, Shaka, A Story of Aloha is soon to hit the movie theaters and hopefully...
That would be nice. Well, so documentaries rarely go to movie theaters.
You never know. I'm being
there is talk about that with the distributors now, so they see it as that
I totally see Consolidated jumping all over that.
That would be nice. Well, I mean, Consolidated one thing in this state, but our aim is off-island to foreign country. Japan... we're going to be there heavy duty because the word shaka comes from Japan. So if, there's actually our biggest funder is a corporation in Japan that, threw in a big chunk to make this movie happen. So that's IEC, and they own spas here. So great spas, Remedy Spas, like super fun place. And, these guys have supported us like unbelievable. Like they actually came from Japan to be at our biggest shot. We had 1,000 people on Hukilau Beach reenacting the hukilau that hadn't taken place in 60 years.
Wow.
And that's actually part of the story, because the man that put on the hukilau was one of the original Shaka people. So I'm really stoked that all these people have come out to make this happen, and I think it's really grown. Like we have all sorts of collab partners that have jumped in. Like 88 Tees has given us thousands of shirts. I'm like, that's super nice of them.
The apparel business would love this.
Yeah, I mean, we were just talking about Vitamin B just jumps in and they go, they have this company called Pink Pill, and they do these really cool shoes. And they're like, we can make you shoes for the red carpet. In 2 weeks' time, I'm going to be in their clogs that are bright pink. And I'm like, there could be nothing better than this, because I don't want to be in a tuxedo on a red carpet. I want to be in something hamma jamma that says aloha, says Hawaii. I want to be screaming Hawaii. And, obviously the press is there for we're actually the first film at this festival.
Nice.
So it goes straight from the red carpet, which is you get a slot, right? And all the press are there, and you have to be funneled through. Well, we actually literally are the first slot. We're the first hour of red carpet, and that goes straight to our premiere. So that the press is going to be there for the opening moment, and we want to steal the press right away and bring it home to Hawaii. So we've got like Michael Sun Lee is going. He's in our film, and he blows the conch shell. He's an actor. He's been on all these cop shows and stuff. He's a recognizable face. So he's there to blow the conch shell. We got a couple halau that are going to come and dance, and we're going to make a scene out of it, just because that's
Are you spreading
how
the
Hawaii
aloha?
bring the aloha and. make some music, make some dance, make it fun. It's our signature on the world.
It makes you smile. Steve, you know what? Congratulations to you and all the work that you've put into this, and to Ryan and to Ying for what you folks are doing in the digital space. But just overall, spreading aloha and making the world a better place. Too much yuck in
Too much
world.
yucks, too much, not enough aloha, not enough. You know the quote Anti-Pilahi Paki throws down? This is like way back when this is when Ponoshim was like a kid, like 13 years old. She tells him this premonition, and she says, the world will look to Hawaii for the answer to peace because Hawaii has the secret, and that secret is aloha. And I didn't quite get the quote right. That's the close enough. That's the Hamajama version of it. But so Mike McCartney, when he was running DBET, he used to give people keys and then this quote from Anti-Pilahi Paki. And he gave that to me, and I thought, that's really epic. That's kind of what we're trying to achieve, is how do we share aloha with the world for peace, harmony, happiness, and love? And I think this is like exactly that pathway. Ryan and Ying helping out with this emoji thing is fantastic to have them aboard. And there's a whole team on every project we're working on. Phyllis Unabasami just jumped in, Miss Education for our state. And she's like, we're going to do this whole thing with Choose Love, and we're going to take the movie apart and make it curriculum, and we're going to take it to Japan. I'm like, wow, Phyllis, okay, done. So all through the DOE. And, our first funder was Kamehameha Schools for an education piece. And so all of these programs are running. It's all been kind of consolidated under what we call Project Shaka as the movement. So the film is just the first program of the movement, but all these other pieces go along with it. So if you're interested in following, go to projectshaka.com or at Project Shaka on any Instagram, Facebook, all those, LinkedIn channels, because if you want to know what's happening or you want to participate, this is a really great way to build a community and just like keep it going. And some people just want like news. So, okay, what's happening with the Shaka bill, or what's happening with the emoji? We'll announce it on that channel. But fun if you can actually, Vitamin B is actually going to walk the red carpet with us with cameras. So how great is that we can cover and share the premiere, even though we're in LA, we can share it back to Hawaii.
Steve, you have to, before you head to LA, you got to get a little bit more excited about what you do.
Yeah, I know. Jeez.
It's like,
your
energy level, we got to bring it up a little and then we'll fly. Steve, good luck to you.
Thanks,
Congratulations.
Ryan.
Thanks for stopping by. And just keep spreading the aloha. I really appreciate what you do.
Thanks, Ryan. Yeah, mahalo. And the aloha, it starts and stops right here. It's like it happens here. And what you guys are doing at the station is great. I think it's just so important and I'm actually looking at the facility we're sitting in right now. I had no idea you guys had this kind of production facility. It's
we're big time.
Truly amazing. Yeah,
we got about 1 million people listening to this right now.
Holy cow. Okay, now I'm nervous.
Yeah. You should be.
Ooh.
You should be. I mean, you're throwing around names like Brooke Lee and stuff, but you have no idea who's listening to us.
Thank God I dropped the name.
All right, mahalo nui for joining us, folks. Join us next week, another episode of School You Went. Until then, hui ho.
What School You Went is a PBS Hawaii production. Music by Taimane Gardner. If you enjoyed this episode, let us know on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and tell your friends. You can find us on pbshawaii.org and everywhere you get your podcasts.